Alrighty, hey guys, my name is Matt, and welcome to episode 3 of Eden's Fate Development Journal. The first couple episodes, just a quick recap. First, kind of introduce myself, and then a little bit of the concept of the game. I wanted to turn it from a like a 12-year-old idea in my head and on notepad and paper to an idea that transforms into a major, uniquely card game. Um, First of its kind on the market. Hopefully, I really do think that this will be an icebreaker, um, and hopefully set the tone for some other games to come. Who knows? Um, and then the second episode was just kind of a little bit more of a little more in depth of what Eden's fate really is, and then talk a little bit about the realms and the strategies that go into like the heroes and the roles that players play as those heroes. So with this third episode, uh, so I wanted to kind of jump into where this came from: a notebook, pad and paper, my brain, a thought, an idea of what I wanted to take a couple different mechanics from some other games I've played over the years, like Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Dominion, Yu-Gi-Oh, different things. And, some of my favorite things from those, and like, what if, one day this could be a couple pieces from this and that and the other, and mesh it into one one gaming experience that would be really neat. And so that's what Eden's Fate really is. It's a deck builder. It's battlefield tactics. Um, you have some trap cards, ambush abilities. So there's surprise, spells, items, equipment, allies, and the hero cards themselves that the players play as a hero in the game. Um, and the deck building mechanics that go along with it. And it's just a really fun, in-depth game. And so back in 2014 is, how old this idea is. And this idea is I wanted to create this gaming experience that's one of a kind and original. Um, so all these random ideas that I had written down over the years, looking back, some of the things that's changed up to this point, especially since I started working on this back in November. So we're like 8 months now because we're November of last year, 2025, is really when I started putting this into motion. Um, and here we are in June of 2026. So about 8 months later, here we are. And the way this game has really evolved, some of the things that with playtesting, been able to play test this game with a couple other people, one with some gaming experience, one with not so much gaming experience. If you watch the first episode, I'm talking about my wife, Brooke. She's great and I love her, but she just doesn't have a lot of experience with these types of games. But that's also very good for the development process of this game because there need to be people who are, completely new to this type of thing, and how hard or difficult or easy is this game to learn. It's a complex game, yes, but at the same time it's also meant to be fun, not just have your thinking cap on the whole time and act like you're doing a math problem or something that you just can't solve. I mean, that's nobody would want that. That's not fun at all. But there's definitely strategy, deep strategy in this game. And um, and some of the other things that have just changed over the years here, as I've had things written down and ideas that I've gotten and started to put into motion over the last 8 months. With the realms, I originally had 13 realms, which would have been like 13 colors, and I thought that was a bit much, so I scaled it down some and went with 8 colors. There's 8 different realms, and the world of Eden, which is the gaming world, the game world that I created, the world of Eden. And these 8 realms, there's eight specific colors. There's a color for each realm. Last week in the second episode of this development journal, I kind of went over those colors, and I'll just kind of name them off again. You have Fire Rest, which is all about fire and chaos. You have Evergreen, which is about, like the primal forest and jungle, big allies, heavy hitters. And then you have Blue, which is Mistra, which is all about like magic. And then there is Purple for Alchronia, which is all about like inventions and contraptions and some alchemy. Then there is Thorn, which is black. It's all about death and decay, corruption. And there is Gray, which is Frosthail, which is like the ice realm in the world of Eden, more northern, obviously. And they are, um, all about defensive strategies and cold steel. Then you have ivory, which is for Albion. In the realm of Albion, it's all about order and structure and battle strategy and tactics. And then you have maroon, which is Moonshire, which is all about stealth uh, and being hidden in the shadows, striking from out of nowhere. The ambush ability is really heavy in Moonshire. Uh, so yeah, so that's the 8 realms. Um, I think I named them all. See, Fire Rest, Evergreen, Albion, Thorn, Cronia, Frosttail, Moonshire, and Mistra. Yeah, that's all of them. Yep. And then the ninth color in the game is white, which is like the general world of Eden. Um, and that's just kind of like for lack of a better term here, it's just kind of like some backups. It's just easy, cost-effective things that you'll be able to do because as your hero is monocolored, you'll be able to use specific colors, the specific color of your hero, but you'll also have access to the white cards within the market that you'll be able to use as well. So it doesn't limit you to just like if the market is flooded with 1 or 2 colors and you're not really seeing your color, there's also going to be some heavy usage of the white out there that will give you so that you don't feel like you're helpless during your turn when you go to gather different cards to build your deck along the way that the game plays because this is a deck building game. And so yeah, so with these cards, I've also been working on the card templates for these cards. Um, there are ally cards, there's mythic ally cards, there's spells, which there's a few subtypes of spells, and then there's items and equipment. Total, there's about, if you include the subtypes, there's like 8 or 9 different card types. But the different types of spells, you have spells which can be used on your turn unless they say otherwise. Instant spells can be used at pretty much any point in the game. There's binding spells which attach to something, and then there's ongoing spells which kind of stay on the field and take effect for as long as the duration says on the card. Um, Yeah, the hero cards are oversized cards. They don't go into your deck. The hero cards represent you in the game. They're a little oversized cards. Um, have some pretty cool looking artwork on there. I've designed 16 total heroes up to this point. Two from each realm, a male and female hero. Um, just wanted to kind of start the game out that way. That way, just a male and female of each realm, um, and all the 16 heroes. The two heroes from Thorn feel different, even though they're both from Thorn. Two horns. The two heroes from Fire Rest also feel different, even though they're both from Fire Rest, and so on and so forth. So each hero kind of has its own specific, flavor to its abilities and its strategies and how it tries to manipulate the game in its favor. Um, and then you can build your deck around that. And then also the hero decks themselves are 12 specific cards for that hero. So, if uh, you're John Smith and you're wanting to play with, Twin Blade from Fire Rest, you're going to get Twin Blade, and then you'll have Twin Blade's hero deck. So that's 12 specific cards that you only will have access to add to your deck as the game goes. And then you'll also have access to the middle of the table, the nexus of cards, the market of cards. It's in the middle of the table for everybody to buy from and build their decks from. And there will be a mix of red cards and white cards for Twin Blade to have access to build his deck. But those hero decks, that's one of the biggest key things that's been fun to make for each specific hero to have its own like twist or its own strategy really come alive in making those cards, making those decks. It's been really fun. Been really fun. And something with making all these cards and making all these abilities and different things, one thing that I've learned it's don't expect perfection right off the bat. It's just not going to happen. There's you're going to have to play test is the big thing with these types of things. So I've definitely been play testing the abilities and the mechanics of the game. Once you have the foundation of the mechanics of the game, turn function, the turns flow and function how they should, the phases of the turns. Um, and when you got your basic mechanics nailed down, that's when you can really grow and start to kind of involve the strategy and then how the game can change and mold. And each game's different, um, but it's very core. The first game we play tested, it was pretty good right off the bat. Uh, but we did purple versus maroon, specifically Felix from Alchronia versus Darwin from Moonshire. And again, purple with Alchronia, Felix. Felix is all about like, with purple, it's all about like inventions and contraptions and some alchemy. And then you have Darwin, which is from Moonshire. In Moonshire, Maroon, it's all about like shadows and stealth, striking from behind, surprise attacks. So the ambush keyword or ambush ability that you'll find on the ally cards throughout the game uh, needed some big some big changes to it, and we discovered that fairly early on within the first game of playtesting. But that's what playtesting does. It's to help you narrow in those mechanics and those foundational mechanics of the gameplay, so that way it's not just a complete mess and chaos every time you play. Kind of tighten in those things and make those adjustments that you need to make in order for it to flow as it should. Altogether, learning these things, and I wouldn't call them necessarily mistakes, but learning where things need to kind of be tightened up and tuned up, where things need to be tightened up and adjusted, and that's okay. It's not about perfection. It's all about progress, and it's all about learning what flows, what works, and what doesn't. And play testing is the way to go. That's been the big focus right now for me, is really play testing as much as I can, play testing these mechanics and these abilities for the heroes and the allies and the spells and items. So that's the main thing, is play testing right now, and it's opened up my eyes to a couple things that needed some tune-ups, and we've made those adjustments, and we're in a pretty good spot now. So the biggest phase next for playtesting is the multiplayer games, where it's more than two people, more than two heroes going at it in a game. Because I'm looking at for this to be one of those where it's at like 2 to 5 players, possibly more. But for now, it's definitely a two-player game. So the play test number 4 coming up is um, going to be introducing a 3-player game, and hopefully that goes well, and then we'll introduce 4 and go from there. That's all about progress, not perfection. It's just looking to tighten up things need to be tightened up, and adjustments need to be made. And there you go. We want things to flow and be fun, but you also don't want games to be chaotic and go on for hours and hours. So yeah, so that's where we're at with the playtesting right now. And I said earlier in this episode that I wanted to show off some artwork. Or actually, I think it was at the end of the last episode. Sorry, at the end of the last episode, episode 2 of this development journal for Eden's Fate, I wanted to show off some of the artwork. So I'm just going to kind of put those up here towards the end of this video. Put up a couple of the hero cards and kind of show not necessarily their abilities right now, but just the look and the style that I'm looking for with these heroes. We'll show some of them. I'll show some of the different card types and some of the templates for those. It's not necessarily like perfected templates, but just kind of starting to get the blueprints for what those card types. All the card types will look just a little different, so they're easy to identify across the table. Um, so yeah, we'll get some of those going, and then yeah, we'll go from there. All right, so of these hero cards that I'll show for today, we'll do a few of them. So this first one is Azuya. Azuya is from the realm of Mistra, which is blue. She's kind of like a merfolk, if you can see there. She's kind of like got that mermaid merfolk look. She's a mage who has like power over the waves, and she can summon the Leviathan. Leviathan's a pretty good size ally, pretty powerful card. It's all about blue magic. And yeah, and next one here we have Bonduku. Bonduku is a shaman from the realm of Evergreen, which is, of course, green. It's all about the primal forces and big allies and wolves and beasts. Uh, and Bonduku also uses a couple items card. He's kind of he's a shaman, so he also kind of has some, some items like some potions that he uses also within the game, part of his strategy. The next one I'll show is Felix. We talked about him a little bit earlier in the video. Felix is a hobman. Um, a hobman is a halfling or kind of like a hobbit, in the world of Lord of the Rings, Middle Earth. Hobman, um, little short guys, but very powerful as well. Felix is all about mechanics and the gearworks. Uh, it's all about summoning the golems and the tinkering around in the workshop and building contraptions to go to fight for you, and also a little bit of alchemy mixed in as well. And then the next one I'll show here is Darwin, who we also talked about in the first game of playtesting. It was Felix versus Darwin. Well, this is Darwin. He is from the realm of Moonshire. He's maroon. Um, the realm color for Moonshire is maroon. And Darwin is all about stealth and ambush and lethal attacks, surprise attacks on your opponent, some trap cards mixed in there to kind of intervene in your opponent's plans on whatever they're trying to do on their turn. Darwin can kind of mess with that. And then the last one I'll show for this video is Reyna. Reyna is from the realm of Thorn, which Thorn is black. This is the realm that deals in death and decay and black magic, dark magics, summoning demons and ghosts and goblins, sort of like the darker portion of Eden. And Reyna is all about using your opponent's basically using their discard against them. And also, she also, part of her strategy also involves um, rid of your opponent's hand and cards for them to be able to use. Kind of locks them up a little bit. So that's Reyna, Collector of Souls. Uh, so outside of that, that's a few of the artworks here. Just wanted to kind of show some of those hero cards that I'm developing. Get a little teaser, I guess you could say, for the art style for this game of Eden's Fate. And yeah, just wanted to kind of show some of those. And looking into the next episode of the Development Journal, episode 4 of Eden's Fate Development Journal, I'm going to kind of talk about one of the hardest parts of developing a game, and that is making decisions when there is no like right answer. Again, I don't have any development experience developing a game, um, or even being in front of a camera talking like this to an audience who hopefully is growing um, and interested in this journey of me developing this card game that goes from a 10-year idea in my head to on paper and pen and paper and notepad to a physical prototype to possibly a digital platform, and then hopefully eventually into your local game shop to buy your first set of Eden's Fate. So yeah, so that's what we'll talk about next time. When there's really no right answer, some of the hardest decisions that I've made up to this point in this development process for this game. So all right. Thanks for following along this journey, and I hope to see you next time on episode 4 of Eden's Fate Development Journal. Thanks.